Captain Min Jun Park stared at the view screen showing the endless darkness of space. His ship, the Harmonious Discovery, had been patrolling the edge of known territory for 3 months now. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. The Galactic Council wanted to make sure nothing unexpected happened out here in the empty regions. Min Jun was human, though most people in the galaxy had never met one. There were not many humans in Council space. His crew was mixed, with species from a dozen different worlds. They all got along well enough, though some of them still gave him strange looks when they thought he was not watching. "Captain, I am detecting something unusual," said Thesic, the science officer. He was Valorian, with blue skin and 4 arms that moved constantly over his console. "There is an energy signature coming from inside the restricted zone." Min Jun sat up straighter. The restricted zone was a large area of space that the Council had declared completely off-limits. No ships were allowed to enter. No questions were allowed to be asked about it. The official records simply called it human space, though Min Jun had never understood why. He was human, and he had never been there. "What kind of energy signature?" Min Jun asked. "It appears to be a distress beacon," Thesic replied. His voice was nervous. "But that should be impossible. Nothing is supposed to be in that zone." Min Jun felt his heartbeat quicken. A distress beacon meant someone needed help, but crossing into the restricted zone was absolutely forbidden. Ships had been destroyed for getting too close to the border. "Can you tell if it is recent?" Min Jun asked. Thesic worked his controls for a moment. "The beacon activated within the last hour. Someone or something is calling for help right now." The bridge became very quiet. Everyone knew the rules. Everyone knew the consequences. But they all also knew what it meant to ignore a distress call. Spacers had a code. You helped people in trouble. You did not leave them to die. Min Jun made his decision. "Set course for the beacon. We are going to investigate." "Captain, I must protest," Thesic said immediately. "The Council has made it very clear that entering human space is forbidden under any circumstances. We could all be court-martialed. Our families could lose their citizenship." "I understand the risks," Min Jun said quietly. "But I will not ignore someone who needs help. If the Council wants to punish me for that, then they can. I will take full responsibility. Note in the log that I gave a direct order against the advice of my officers." The helmsman, a young Keprian named Sala, looked back at him with wide eyes. "Setting course, Captain." As the Harmonious Discovery crossed the invisible line into restricted space, Min Jun felt a strange mixture of fear and curiosity. What was really in here? Why was it so forbidden? He had asked questions about human space when he first joined the Council service. But no one would give him answers. The older officers would just shake their heads and tell him not to ask. "Sensors are going crazy," Thesic announced. "I am reading massive interference. There are energy fields everywhere. Some kind of advanced network. This is not empty space at all." "Can you locate the distress beacon?" Min Jun asked. "Yes, it is 3 million kilometers ahead. But Captain, I am also detecting something else. The beacon is attached to a Council probe, according to its identification code. This is Survey Probe 774. But that probe was destroyed 200 years ago. The records are very clear about it. Los 8. Min Jun felt cold. A probe that was supposed to be destroyed, suddenly active again after 2 centuries. This was not a coincidence. "Keep going," he ordered, "and keep all sensors recording. I want every detail documented." As they approached the beacon, the interference grew stronger. Then, suddenly, it cleared. On the view screen, they could see the old probe floating in space. It looked ancient, its hull scarred and damaged, but it was definitely still functional. "I am reading recent access to the probe's data logs," Thesic reported. "Someone has been inside its memory banks within the last few days." "Captain, I think someone wanted us to find this. Can you access those logs?" Min Jun asked. Thesic worked in silence for several minutes. Then he looked up. his face pale even for a Valorian. "Captain, you need to see this. The probe contains records from the first contact between humanity and the Galactic Council. But these records are nothing like what the official histories say." Min Jun moved to stand beside Thessic's console. On the screen, he saw images and reports that made his blood run cold. The official story was that humans had been found to be too aggressive, too unpredictable for Council space. They had been restricted to their own territory for the safety of everyone. But these records told a different story. They showed human diplomats asking questions about ancient ruins. They showed human scientists presenting evidence of something the Council wanted hidden. They showed Council leaders arguing about what to do with the humans who knew too much. They quarantined an entire species, Thessic whispered. Not because humans were dangerous, but because humans found something the Council did not want anyone to know about. Before Min Jun could respond, the proximity alarms began screaming. A ship had just appeared on their sensors, emerging from behind a small moon. It was human in design, but unlike any human ship Min Jun had ever seen in Council space. "Captain, they are hailing us," the communications officer reported. "Put them through," Min Jun said. The view screen changed to show a human woman with dark hair and intense eyes. Behind her, Min Jun could see a small ship's bridge. "Council vessel. Harmonious Discovery. This is Dr. Sarah Chen of the research ship Persistence. I apologize for the dramatic method of contact, but we needed to make sure you were willing to cross the border before revealing ourselves. If you had turned back, we would have known you were not ready for the truth." "The truth about what?" Min Jun demanded. Sarah's expression was grim. "The truth about why humanity was really isolated. The truth about what the Galactic Council is hiding. And the truth about what is coming for all of us." She paused. "Captain Park, humanity has been preparing for 200 years. We have been studying, researching, and building. We know what the Council fears, and we know that fear is about to become reality." "I do not understand," Min Jun said. "You will," Sarah replied. "Captain, the probe you found contains coordinates. If you follow them, you will reach our research station. There, we can show you everything. But I must warn you, once you know the truth, you cannot go back to believing the comfortable lies. Your life will never be the same." Min Jun looked around his bridge. His crew stared back at him, waiting for his decision. He thought about the destroyed probe that was not destroyed. He thought about the hidden records. He thought about an entire species isolated for asking the wrong questions. "Send us the coordinates," Min Jun said. "We came this far. We might as well see what the Council is so desperate to hide." The Persistence was smaller than Min Jun expected. It looked old but well-maintained, with modifications that seemed both practical and strange. As the Harmonious Discovery followed it through a series of careful jumps, Thessic kept scanning the human ship with growing confusion. "Their technology is unusual," the Valorian science officer reported. "Some systems are more advanced than ours. Others seem deliberately simplified. It is like they designed everything for a specific purpose, rather than following standard patterns." Min Jun wondered what that purpose might be. The question bothered him more with each passing hour. They arrived at a location that looked empty on all standard sensors. But when the Persistence broadcast a specific signal, space itself seemed to shimmer. Suddenly, a massive station appeared, hidden behind some kind of advanced camouflage field. It was easily as large as a Council military base, but its design was completely different. "Captain, I am reading hundreds of life signs on that station," Thessic said quietly. "All human. There are also dozens of ships docked there, and massive data archives. This is not a small operation." "All docked, Con." Dr. Chen's voice came over the communication system. "Welcome to Research Station Unity. We will guide you to a docking port. Please do not be alarmed by our security measures. We have worked very hard to stay hidden." Not. 2-3. Not. As the Harmonious Discovery docked, Min Jun chose a small team to go with him. Thessic, Security Officer Rala, and Communications Officer Ven. If something went wrong, at least some of the crew could escape and report what they found. The station's interior was clean and efficient. Humans moved through the corridors with purpose, barely glancing at the alien visitors. Min-jun noticed that many of them were older, with gray hair and tired eyes. These were people who had spent their entire lives on this work, whatever it was. Dr. Chen met them in a large conference room. Another human stood with her, a tall man with dark skin and watchful eyes. This is Lieutenant James Torres, our security officer. Please, sit down. We have a lot to show you, and not much time to waste. Why the urgency? Min-jun asked as he took a seat. Sarah activated a holographic display. It showed a star map of the galaxy, with thousands of systems marked in different colors. Because what we feared might happen soon is actually happening now. But I need to give you context first, or nothing will make sense. The display changed to show ancient ruins on a dead world. 250 years ago, human explorers found ruins on a planet at the edge of our space. The ruins were old. Millions of years old. We found technology there, including fragments of faster-than-light drive systems. We studied them and developed our own FTL capability. The same way every species does, Thesic said. The ancient builders left their technology scattered across the galaxy. We all learned from them. Exactly, Sarah agreed. But we found something else in those ruins. Something the Council apparently never looked for, or chose to ignore. The display now showed alien writing, along with human translations. Min-jun felt his skin grow cold as he read the words. They spoke of cycles. They spoke of harvests. They spoke of something that came from beyond the galaxy to destroy civilizations that grew too advanced. We thought it might be legend at first, Sarah continued. But we found the same warnings on other ancient sites. Always the same message. Hide, or prepare to fight. The ancient builders tried to fight. They lost. Their ruins are all that remains. James Torres stepped forward. When humanity brought this information to the Galactic Council 240 years ago, we expected cooperation. We expected them to take the warnings seriously. Instead, our ambassadors were arrested. Our ships were surrounded. Within days, all humans in Council space were rounded up and sent back to our territory. Then the Council declared human space off limits and erased most records of what we told them. That cannot be true. Thesic protested. The Council would not hide something so important. Sarah's laugh was bitter. Would they not? We spent decades trying to understand why they reacted that way. Then we broke into some very old, very classified Council archives. We found the truth. She changed the display again. Now it showed Council records, ancient ones, with translation overlays. Min-jun read them with growing horror. The Council's founding species had known about the cycle. They had survived the last one by hiding at a pre-industrial technology level. When the threat passed, they emerged and claimed the ruins of greater civilizations. They built the Council specifically to control how fast species advanced, keeping everyone useful but not advanced enough to trigger another visit from the harvesters. They have been managing the galaxy's development for 50,000 years, Sarah said quietly. Every species is kept at just the right level. Advanced enough to be productive, not advanced enough to attract attention from outside. Why isolate humanity then? Min-jun asked. Why not just convince us to stay quiet? Why? I saw. Why? 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 Because humans are stubborn, James said with a slight smile. Your species too, Captain. We do not accept comfortable lies when we know the truth is out there. The Council studied humanity for years before first contact. They knew we would keep digging, so they cut us off completely, hoping we would eventually forget and move on. We did not forget, Sarah said. We prepared. Every human on this station, every scientist and engineer, has spent their life getting ready for the day when the cycle turns again. We have studied every piece of information we could find about the harvesters. We have developed weapons and tactics. We call it the Endurance Protocol, because we refuse to just hide and hope for the best. Min-jun felt overwhelmed. Everything he thought he knew about the galaxy was wrong. The council he served had built itself on lies and control. An entire species had been isolated for trying to warn everyone about a threat that the council already knew existed. "I need proof," he said finally. "I need something I can verify independently. Because, if I am going to accuse the council of a conspiracy this large, I need to be absolutely certain." Sarah nodded. "We expected that. James, show them the observation data. If you can street a day, 100 in scheme, and all their width." Sarah nodded. "Sarah, we may be con to 7. Torres activated another display. This one showed deep space sensor readings, the kind used to watch the space between galaxies. These readings are from our long-range observation posts. We have them positioned at the galactic rim, watching the void. 3 weeks ago, we detected something entering the galaxy from dark space. The display showed massive energy signatures, each one larger than anything Min-jun had ever seen. There were dozens of them, moving in a coordinated pattern toward the densest regions of Council space. "What are those?" Rala, the security officer, whispered. "We call them Reapers," Sarah said softly. "The harvesters. The cycle has turned. They are coming, and they are coming now. The Council's careful management failed. Someone advanced too fast, or built too much, or simply existed at the wrong time. The Reapers have awakened, and they are already here." Min-jun stared at the display, watching the massive signatures move closer. "How long before they reach populated space?" They already have," James said grimly. "We received reports 2 hours ago. A council world on the outer rim went silent. All communication cut off. Ada. One time. Ada. 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 When scout ships investigated, they found nothing. No people, no cities, no signs of technology, just empty buildings and silence. The room was very quiet. Min-jun thought about his crew, waiting on his ship. He thought about the billions of people across the galaxy who had no idea what was coming. He thought about the council leaders who had chosen to hide the truth rather than prepare. "I need to go back," he said. "I need to warn people. They will arrest you the moment you start talking," Sarah said. "The council will not admit the truth until they have no other choice. Then I will make sure they have no other choice." Min-jun replied. "Do you have proof I can broadcast? Evidence that cannot be denied?" Sarah and James looked at each other. Finally, Sarah nodded. "We do. But Captain, once you do this, your life in council space is over. You will be branded a traitor. Your career will be destroyed." Min-jun stood up. "I did not join the council to serve comfortable lies. I joined to protect people. Right now, the best way to protect them is to tell them the truth, no matter what it costs me." Min-jun could not sleep. He lay in the small quarters the humans had provided, staring at the ceiling and thinking about everything he had learned. His entire understanding of the galaxy had been torn apart in a few hours. The worst part was knowing that billions of people were going about their normal lives, completely unaware of the danger approaching. When he finally gave up on sleep, he found Sarah Chen in one of the station's observation decks. She stood looking out at the stars, holding a cup of something hot that steamed in the cool air. "Could not rest either?" she asked without turning around. "How can anyone rest knowing what is coming?" Min-jun replied. Sarah smiled sadly. "You get used to it. Everyone on this station has lived with this knowledge their whole lives. We were all born knowing that someday the Reapers would return. Our parents prepared us. Their parents prepared them. Fear becomes normal after a while." "That is a terrible way to live," Min-jun said. Maybe, Sarah agreed. But it kept us ready. While the Council was keeping everyone comfortable and controlled, humanity was training and preparing. We have been running combat simulations for 200 years. We have weapons designed specifically to fight enemies like the Reapers. We have strategies and tactics based on every piece of information we could find. She finally turned to look at him. The question is whether any of it will be enough. The Reapers have destroyed countless civilizations. They have had millions of years to perfect their methods. We are one species, isolated and alone. Even with all our preparation, we might just be making ourselves feel better before the end. You do not really believe that, Minjun said. If you did, you would not have spent your life on this work. Sarah laughed. You are right. I suppose I am a stubborn optimist. The human condition. According to the Council's own psychological profiles, we refuse to accept that some problems cannot be solved. Before Minjun could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Sarah dropped her cup and ran for the command center. Minjun followed close behind. The command center was chaos. Dozens of humans worked at consoles while holographic displays showed multiple star systems. Dr. Kwon, the elderly man who led the research station, stood at the center of it all. What happened? Sarah demanded. Another world has gone silent, Kwon replied. His voice was calm despite the emergency. But this time, we had deep space telescopes watching. We captured data on the Reaper attack. He activated a large display. Minjun watched in horror as a massive ship, easily 10 kilometers long, appeared above a populated council world. The planet's defense fleet responded immediately, moving to intercept. They fired everything they had, weapons that should have destroyed any normal ship. The Reaper vessel's shields did not even flicker. The defensive fire simply vanished against its hull, as if the weapons did not exist. Then, the Reaper fired back. A single beam of dark energy lanced out and touched one of the defense ships. The ship did not explode. It simply stopped existing. Gone, as if it had never been there. The entire defense fleet was eliminated in less than 5 minutes. Then, the Reaper moved into orbit and began its harvest. Beams of light swept across the planet's surface. Cities went dark, one by one. When the Reaper finally left, hours later, the world was empty. Everything technological was gone. Only the simplest life remained. 16 billion people, Kwon said quietly. Gone, in an afternoon. The command center was silent. Minjun felt sick. He thought about how easily the Reapers had destroyed a full defense fleet. These were not enemies that could be fought with normal weapons or normal tactics. How many Reapers have entered the galaxy? He asked. We count 47 distinct signatures, Kwon replied. There may be more we cannot detect yet. They are spreading out, moving toward the most populated and technologically advanced regions. At their current rate, they will reach the core council worlds in 3 weeks. The council must be aware of this by now, Thesic said. The Valorian had entered the command center, behind Minjun. They cannot hide 2 destroyed worlds. They are trying, Sarah said, pulling up communication intercepts. Look at the official reports. They are calling it a natural disaster on the first world. The second one has not been officially acknowledged yet. The council is still hoping they can contain the information. Minjun felt his anger rising. People need to know. Every world needs to start evacuating their populations, preparing defenses, anything. Instead, the council is still playing political games, which is why you need to go back, Sarah said firmly. We have prepared data packages with all the evidence. You can broadcast them on every open channel before the council can stop you. Force them to acknowledge the truth. That will work for maybe an hour before they shut down all his transmissions and arrest him, James Torres pointed out. We need something bigger. Dr. Kwon nodded slowly. I have been thinking about this. The Council's central station receives news feeds from thousands of worlds simultaneously. If we could insert our evidence into those feeds, it would reach billions of people before anyone realized what was happening. That would require access to the Council's central communication network, Thesic said. The security on those systems is extremely advanced. Advanced by Council standards, Sarah corrected. Remember, we have had 200 years to study Council technology. We know its weaknesses. She looked at Minjun. But we would need someone on the inside to physically access a communication hub. Someone the Council still trusts. Minjun understood what she was asking. You want me to go back? Act normal. And then betray the Council's trust by hacking their most secure systems? Yes, Sarah said simply. I know it is asking a lot. This is your career, your life, everything you worked for. But if we do nothing, everyone dies. The Reapers will harvest world after world until nothing remains. Minjun thought about his crew, still waiting on his ship. He thought about the billions of people across the galaxy. He thought about the 2 worlds already lost. Their populations simply erased, as if they had never existed. I will do it, he said. But I want something in return. When I broadcast the truth and the Council falls apart, there will be chaos. Panic. Systems will break down. You need to be ready to help. Humanity needs to stop hiding and start leading. Sarah looked surprised. Lead? Captain, we have been isolated for 2 centuries. Nobody in Council space trusts humans. Why would they follow us? 1. Because you are the only ones who have been preparing for this, Minjun replied. You have weapons that might actually work against the Reapers. You have tactics and strategies. Most importantly, you have been living with the truth while everyone else was comfortable in lies. When the Council's authority collapses, someone needs to step forward. It might as well be the species they tried so hard to silence. James Torres grinned. I like him. Dr. Kwan studied Minjun carefully. You understand that once you do this, you can never go back to your old life? The Council will brand you a traitor. Some of your own crew might turn against you. You will be giving up everything. I understand, Minjun said. But I became a spacer to help people. Right now, this is how I can help the most people. Everything else is just details. Sarah extended her hand. Then we have a deal. We will prepare the data packages and give you the tools you need to access the Council's network. In return, when the truth comes out, humanity will stand with the rest of the galaxy instead of hiding in the shadows. Minjun shook her hand. How long do I have? The Reapers will reach the middle systems in 2 weeks, Quan said. After that, the panic will be too widespread to control anyway. You have 12 days to get back to Council Central and make the broadcast. Then I should leave immediately, Minjun said. As he turned to go, Sarah called after him. Captain Park? Thank you. For believing us. For being willing to risk everything. Humanity has been alone for a very long time. It means something to know that at least one person from the Council is willing to stand with us. Minjun nodded. He did not trust himself to speak. Instead, he returned to his ship and gathered his crew. He told them everything he had learned, holding nothing back. Then, he gave them a choice. I am going back to Council Central to expose the truth, he said. Anyone who wants to leave the ship and stay here can do so. No judgment, no consequences. But if you come with me, you need to understand that we are all probably going to be arrested. Our careers are over. Our lives as we knew them are finished. His crew looked at each other. Then, one by one, they each nodded. We joined this crew to explore and protect, Thesic said quietly. Right now, the best way to protect people is to warn them. We are with you, Captain. Minjun felt something tight in his chest loosen. Then, let us go. Save the galaxy. The journey back to Council Central took 8 days. Min-jun spent most of that time reviewing the data packages Sarah had given him and planning exactly how to execute the broadcast. The packages contained everything: ancient records, council conspiracies, footage of Reaper attacks, and, most damning of all, evidence that the council had known about the cycle for 50,000 years. On the seventh day, they received a priority transmission from Council Command. Min-jun's hands were sweating as he opened it. "Captain Park," said Admiral Kessick, a high-ranking Torellian officer, "you are ordered to report immediately to Council Central for debriefing regarding your unauthorized entry into restricted space. You will answer questions about your actions and present yourself for potential disciplinary proceedings." The transmission ended. Thesick looked worried. "They know we crossed into human space. Someone must have been monitoring the border." "It does not matter," Min-jun said. "We were planning to go to Council Central anyway. This actually gives us a good excuse to be there." When they finally arrived at Council Central, the massive station looked the same as always. Ships came and went in organized patterns. Thousands of beings from hundreds of species moved through the docking areas. Everything seemed normal. But Min-jun could feel the tension underneath. People were scared, even if they did not know exactly why yet. As soon as the Harmonious Discovery docked, security officers boarded the ship. "Captain Park, you are to come with us immediately. Your crew will remain on the ship until the investigation is complete." Min-jun had prepared for this. He went quietly, carrying nothing but his uniform and the small data device Sarah had given him. It looked like a standard council identification chip, but it contained everything they needed to access the communication network. The security officers took him deep into the station, to a section he had never seen before. They put him in a small room with a table and 2 chairs. Then, they left him alone. Hours passed. Min-jun knew this was a tactic, meant to make him nervous and uncertain. He used the time to mentally rehearse his plan. He needed to find a communication hub, insert the data chip, and activate the broadcast before anyone could stop him. Finally, the door opened. 2 council directors entered, both looking stern and angry. Min-jun recognized them from broadcasts: Director Voss, a Keltharian who oversaw security, and Director Min, a Zarelian who managed information systems. "Captain Park," Voss began, "you are charged with unauthorized entry into restricted space, violation of council quarantine protocols, and potential conspiracy with isolated species. These are serious charges. Your career is finished unless you cooperate fully." "I understand," Min-jun said calmly. "Tell us exactly what happened," Director Min said. "Why did you enter human space? What did you find there? Who did you speak with?" Min-jun had prepared a story that was mostly true. He described detecting the distress beacon, making the difficult choice to investigate, and finding the old probe. He mentioned meeting Dr. Chen and visiting a small research station, but he left out the important parts: the evidence, the Reapers, the conspiracy. "The humans told you nothing unusual?" Voss pressed. "They made no claims about the council or ancient threats, so they knew. Or at least suspected." Min-jun kept his expression neutral. "They were researchers studying old ruins. Nothing more." The directors looked at each other. Min leaned forward. "Captain, we are going to be honest with you. There is a situation developing. Some outer rim worlds have experienced difficulties. We are investigating possible threats. If the humans told you anything about this, anything at all, you need to tell us now." "What kind of difficulties?" Min-jun asked. "That is classified," Voss snapped. "Just answer the question." "The humans said nothing about threats to the council," Min-jun said. It was technically true. The Reapers were not just a threat to the council. They were a threat to everyone. The interrogation continued for another 2 hours. Finally, The directors seemed satisfied that Minjun was not going to reveal anything useful. They stood to leave. "You will remain in custody while we continue our investigation," Voss said. "Do not expect this to end well for you, Captain. Crossing into human space alone is enough to end your career." After they left, guards escorted Minjun to a detention cell. It was small, but clean, with a bed and basic facilities. Minjun sat down and forced himself to stay calm. He needed to wait for the right moment. That moment came 3 hours later. Alarms suddenly began blaring throughout the station. Minjun could hear shouting in the corridors and the sound of running feet. He moved to his cell door and looked through the small window. A guard ran past, speaking urgently into a communicator. "All hands to emergency stations. Reaper vessel detected entering the inner systems. This is not a drill." Over then, the guard did not bother to close the security door behind him. In the chaos, everyone had forgotten about the prisoners. Minjun did not waste time questioning his luck. He slipped out of his cell and into the corridor. The station was in complete chaos. People ran in every direction, some heading to their duty stations, others simply panicking. Announcements blared from speakers, contradicting each other. Minjun realized that the council's careful control was already breaking down. Fear was spreading faster than they could contain it. He made his way to the nearest communication hub. Sarah had given him a map of the station, with all the hub locations marked. This one was small, designed for internal communications, but it connected to the main network. The hub room was empty when Minjun entered. Everyone who normally worked there had been called to emergency stations. He moved to the main console and pulled out the data chip Sarah had given him. His hands shook slightly as he inserted it into the access port. The chip began working immediately, bypassing security protocols that would have taken him hours to break through manually. Within seconds, he had full access to the Council's central communication network. Minjun pulled up the broadcast interface. Every screen in Council space was about to show the truth. He thought about the billions of people whose lives were about to change forever. He thought about the Council leaders who would never forgive him for this. He thought about his crew, his career, everything he was throwing away. Then he thought about the 2 worlds already harvested, their populations simply erased. He thought about the 47 Reaper vessels spreading through the galaxy. He thought about what would happen if people did not know the truth until it was too late. Minjun activated the broadcast. Across the galaxy, on billions of screens, the normal programming suddenly cut out. Instead, people saw ancient records, Council conspiracies, and footage of Reaper attacks. They saw proof that their leaders had hidden the truth for 50,000 years. They saw evidence that humanity had tried to warn everyone and been silenced for it. Most importantly, they saw images of the Reapers. Massive ships, darker than space itself, harvesting worlds with casual efficiency. They saw the defense fleets that tried to stop them, destroyed in seconds. They saw the empty planets left behind. All technology stripped away. All advanced life, simply gone. Minjun provided context with a simple message that appeared below all the evidence. The Council has known about the cyclical harvests for 50,000 years. They chose to hide the truth and control our advancement rather than prepare us to fight. Now the Reapers have returned. Humanity has been preparing for this moment for 2 centuries. They are ready to help, if we are willing to accept it. The time for comfortable lies is over. The galaxy must face the truth or die hiding from it. Alarms began screaming in the hub room. Minjun knew security would arrive any moment. He did not try to run. There was nowhere to go, and he had already accomplished what he came to do. The door burst open and armed guards flooded in. "On the ground, hands behind your head," Minjun complied, lying face down on the floor. As the guards secured his hands, he heard one of them speaking into a communicator. "We have the traitor. He is in custody." Director Voss arrived minutes later, his face dark with fury. "Do you have any idea what you have done? You have thrown the entire galaxy into chaos. Billions of people are panicking. Governments are collapsing. Good, Minjun said calmly. Maybe now they will actually do something instead of waiting to be harvested. Voss looked like he wanted to hit him but controlled himself. Take him to maximum security. I want him isolated completely. No communication, no visitors, nothing. As the guards dragged Minjun away, he caught a glimpse of a view screen in the corridor. It showed the main plaza of Council Central, where thousands of people had gathered. They were not panicking. They were angry. They were demanding answers from the directors who had lied to them. Minjun smiled. The truth was out. Now came the hard part, convincing everyone to work together to survive. Minjun sat in his cell and listened to the galaxy fall apart. Through the walls, he could hear alarms, shouting, and the constant thunder of running feet. The guards who brought him food would not speak to him, but he could see the fear in their eyes. They knew the truth now. Everyone knew. On the third day of his confinement, the cell door opened unexpectedly. Thesic stood there, along with two human soldiers Minjun did not recognize. His science officer looked exhausted but determined. We are leaving, Captain, Thesic said. The Council Directorate has been dissolved. Director Voss and the others are under arrest themselves. No one has time to worry about you right now. Quote. 2. Quote. What happened? Minjun asked, as they hurried through corridors that were strangely empty. Everything happened. One of the human soldiers replied. She was young, with sergeant stripes on her uniform. When you broadcast the truth, people demanded answers. The directors tried to maintain order, but 3 more worlds went silent during the first day. Reaper vessels were spotted in a dozen systems. People stopped listening to the Council and started listening to their own survival instincts. They reached the docking bay, where the Harmonious Discovery waited. But the ship was not alone. Dozens of human vessels surrounded it, and hundreds more were visible through the bay windows. It looked like an invasion fleet. Except they were not attacking. They were organizing. Sarah Chen waited on the bridge of Minjun's ship. She looked different than before, wearing a military uniform instead of research clothes. Captain Park, thank you for what you did. You gave us the opening we needed. Opening for what? Minjun asked. To stop hiding, Sarah replied. After your broadcast, we came out of human space in force. We brought our ships, our weapons, and our knowledge. The Council's military command was in chaos, so we simply started organizing the defense ourselves. Some species welcomed our help. Others are still suspicious. But everyone is too scared of the Reapers to argue much. James Torres appeared on the view screen. He was on another ship, surrounded by tactical displays. Captain Park, good to see you free. We need you. Right now, we are trying to coordinate defense efforts across 300 systems. It is a nightmare. Nobody trusts each other. Everyone is panicking. And the Reapers keep getting closer. We need someone the Council species will listen to. They will not listen to me, Minjun protested. You are a hero, Thesic said quietly. Captain, you do not understand what your broadcast did. Yes, there was panic at first, but then people started talking about you. The Council captain who chose truth over orders. The officer who risked everything to warn people. You have become a symbol of resistance against the conspiracy that failed us. Sarah pulled up communication logs. Look at this. Thousands of messages from across the galaxy, all asking the same thing. Where is Captain Park? What does he say we should do? People are scared and angry at their leaders. They want someone they can trust. Right now, that someone is you. Minjun felt overwhelmed. I am just one person. I cannot lead a galactic defense. You do not have to lead alone. Sarah said. Humanity has been preparing strategies for 200 years. We know how to fight the Reapers. Sarah said. OPT, But we need someone to coordinate between us and the Council species. Someone who understands both sides. That is you. And, before Minjun could respond, alarms blared again. James Torres looked up sharply from his displays. Reaper vessel entering the system. It is heading straight for Council Central. The bridge erupted in activity. Sarah immediately started giving orders to the human fleet. All ships. Battle formation Delta. Focus your fire on the shield generators, like we practiced. They are going to attack here? Minjun said, shocked. This is the center of Council space. There are millions of people on this station, which makes it a priority target? Sarah replied grimly. The Reapers always go for population centers first. Captain, I need you to coordinate the evacuation. Get as many people off this station as possible. Minjun did not hesitate. He moved to the communications console and opened channels to every docked ship. This is Captain Minjun Park to all vessels in the docking bay. We have minutes before a Reaper attack. Begin emergency evacuation procedures immediately. Ignore normal departure protocols. Just get people on your ships and leave. Some captains hesitated, unsure whether to trust him. But Thesic opened another channel, broadcasting to the station itself. All personnel. This is Science Officer Thesic. The Reaper threat is real and immediate. Follow Captain Park's instructions. Evacuate now. The docking bay descended into controlled chaos. Thousands of people flooded toward any ship that would take them. Minjun coordinated the effort, directing traffic and making sure the smaller vessels loaded first, so they could clear space for the larger ones. Through the view screen, he could see the Reaper approaching. It was even more massive than the recording suggested, a dark shape that seemed to absorb light itself. The human fleet moved to intercept, their ships tiny compared to the monster they faced. Human vessels engaging, Sarah reported. Her voice was steady despite the fear Minjun could see in her eyes. All ships. Target the emitter arrays on the forward section. Hit them with everything. The human ships attacked in coordinated waves. Their weapons were different from standard Council armaments, using principles that Minjun did not fully understand. When they hit the Reaper's shields, something strange happened. The shields flickered and weakened. Just for a moment. It worked, James shouted from his ship. The resonance weapons are disrupting their shields. All ships, focus fire on the weakened sections. More ships joined the battle, as the station's defense fleet finally organized itself. Council vessels attacked alongside the human ships. Following the tactics Sarah called out. Slowly, incredibly, the Reaper's shields began to fail, but the Reaper was not defenseless. Its dark energy weapons lashed out, and ships began dying. Minjun watched in horror as a Council destroyer simply ceased to exist, touched by that terrible beam. A human cruiser broke apart. Its crew killed in an instant. We are losing too many ships, Sarah said, her voice tight. Minjun. How is the evacuation going? 70% complete, he replied. We need more time. We will buy you all we can, Sarah promised. All remaining ships, Formation Epsilon. Draw its fire away from the station. The human and Council ships moved together, acting as one fleet instead of dozens of separate vessels. They swarmed around the Reaper, attacking from every angle, forcing it to divide its attention. More ships died, but the Reaper's shields continued to weaken. Then something unexpected happened. A massive human ship, larger than anything Minjun had seen before, emerged from jump space. It looked old and battle-scarred, with weapons that seemed to have been bolted on wherever they would fit. This is Admiral Chen of the human vessel Endurance, a voice announced. Minjun realized this must be Sarah's mother or aunt, another member of the Chen family that had dedicated itself to preparing for this moment. All ships, clear the firing lanes. We only get one shot at this. The fleet scattered. The Endurance moved into position and fired a weapon that made the entire ship shudder with recoil. A beam of pure white energy lanced out and struck the Reaper directly in its weakened shields. The shields collapsed completely. For the first time in recorded history, a Reaper vessel was exposed and vulnerable. All ships, fire everything. Hundreds of weapons struck the Reaper's hull. The massive vessel shuddered and began to break apart. Internal explosions rippled across its surface. Then, with a flash of dark energy that made the view screens temporarily go black, the Reaper exploded. The bridge was silent for a long moment. Then, cheering erupted from every ship in the fleet. They had done it. They had actually destroyed a Reaper. Evacuation complete, Thesic reported. All personnel are off the station. Minjun sagged with relief. Then, he saw the tactical display, and his relief vanished. Sarah, how many ships did we lose? Her face was grim. 247 vessels. Over 30,000 dead. And that was just one Reaper. There are 46 more spreading through the galaxy. The scale of the problem hit Minjun like a physical blow. They had won one battle by throwing hundreds of ships at a single enemy and using tactics humanity had spent 2 centuries developing. But there were dozens more Reapers, and they had just depleted a significant portion of their available forces. We need to organize properly, he said. Every species needs to contribute. Every world needs to start building ships using the human weapons designs. We need to turn this from a panic into a coordinated defense. Admiral Chen's image appeared on the view screen. She was an older woman with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much. Captain Park, I have been hearing about you. They say you are the man who told the truth when no one else would. Is that accurate? Arbia, and the next on. I did what needed to be done, Minjun replied. Good. Because we need someone to lead the coordination effort. The humans can provide the tactics and technology, but we cannot lead this fight alone. Too many species still distrust us because of the isolation. But you, Captain, you are one of them. You served the Council faithfully until you learned the truth. If you tell them we can win this, they might actually believe it. Minjun looked around his bridge. His crew nodded encouragingly. Sarah gave him a small smile. Even Thesic, always cautious, looked hopeful. I am just a patrol ship captain, Minjun said. I have never commanded anything larger than a survey vessel. Neither had we, until this started, Admiral Chen replied. But we learned. You will too. The question is simple, Captain. Will you help us save the galaxy? Or will you let fear and doubt win? Minjun thought about the 30,000 people who had just died fighting one Reaper. He thought about the billions more who would die if they failed. He thought about the Council leaders who had chosen comfortable lies over difficult truths, and where that choice had led. I will do it, he said. But we do this together. Humans, Council species, everyone. No more secrets, no more lies. We face this threat as equals, or we die as fools. Agreed, Admiral Chen said. Welcome to the war for galactic survival, Captain Park. Let us hope we are all smart enough and stubborn enough to actually win it. Over the following weeks, Minjun worked alongside Sarah and the other human commanders to organize a true galactic defense. It was hard, messy work. Old prejudices had to be overcome. Different military doctrines had to be merged. Countless arguments had to be resolved. But slowly, incredibly, it began to work. The human technology spread to other species. Tactics improved. Ships started working together instead of fighting alone. And more Reapers were destroyed, each one costing terrible losses but proving that they could be beaten. The war lasted 9 months. By the end, over 100 billion people had died, and thousands of ships lay scattered across hundreds of battlefields. But the Reapers finally withdrew, retreating back into the dark space between galaxies. For the first time in the cycles of the galaxy, they had been stopped. Minjun stood with Sarah on the observation deck of a new station, built to replace Council Central. Below them, ships from dozens of species worked together to repair the damage and prepare for the future. Do you think they will come back? Minjun asked. Eventually, Sarah replied. But next time, we will be ready. Next time, the whole galaxy will have spent generations preparing instead of hiding. That is what you gave us, Minjun. Not just warning about this attack, but the chance to be ready for all the attacks that will come after. I just told the truth, Minjun said. You did more than that, Sarah corrected. You chose truth over comfort. You risked everything to help people you did not even know. That is what saved us. Not technology, not tactics, but one person who refused to look away from a hard reality. She smiled. Very human of you. Minjun laughed despite himself. I suppose it is. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the galaxy rebuild itself. The truth had been painful. The cost had been terrible. But they had survived. And that, Minjun thought, was all anyone could really ask for. The galaxy would remember this time not as the era when the Reapers came, but as the moment when all species finally learned to face the darkness together, united by the simple truth that survival requires courage more than comfort.